Wait, give me a second.
That just sounds weird.
One second.
On ice.
One sec. Are we?
Are you telling us to stop talking, or?
No, I was just hoping we didn't. Oh wait. Hey, we're about to be. Yeah, we're streaming on YouTube. I'm still working on Facebook right in a second. Should I stop it?
Not bad.
Let's make sure it's working first.
It's working on here.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is like, let me check the YouTube page.
Right? You got some fruit set?
It's working on here. I see it popped up.
So do I need to stop it while you're eating?
Hey, drop that fruit fries. What?
Oh God, you're streaming right now.
Oh, well, yeah, I couldn't hear you. So how?
So I said it multiple times. So I was like, wait.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
This is a test stream, guys. So don't worry about it. It's a test stream. Testing 1 2 1 2.
I mean, we're streaming, but we're not live, are we?
I mean, don't commit any murders right now.
All right, so yeah, it's like a tad behind.
Yeah,
but it's always gonna be yeah. But yeah, it's working on YouTube.
Okay.
I can see my shiny forehead.
Yep.
Kind of want to slap Steve's head for a fresh cut.
I can see my Smash logo on my
It ain't
laptop.
so fresh.
Wow, that sticks out really hard.
What, the Smash logo?
Yeah.
How Caucasian?
I'm glad that guy gave me
Okay.
that sticker for free.
Right?
That was really nice of him.
I mean, you could have turned it the other way so it'd be a fake Smash Ball.
Nah. We don't got
Which
time.
does randomly high
An
amounts of damage.
obscene amount of damage.
Yeah, I hate that it explodes.
Especially when it's like, I didn't even hit you. Like, you just rolled into my attack and I just died because of you.
I do enjoy that some of the Smash Balls just kind of flop down on the ground and sit there. Those are pretty funny to me.
Mm-hmm. Cancel.
Let me know when I should post this to Facebook, sir.
I mean, you're on right now, so.
Okay, then. That answers that question.
We're just not live on Facebook yet. I'm trying to work on that. And I guess we can zoom in a little bit.
I guess I'll just sit here and eat these fruit snacks on the stream.
Yeah, you can do that.
Like a good professional streamer does.
The best.
Randomly, I missed the old Crunch Bar wrapping.
Oh, I don't remember what it looks like.
It had the little silver, the foil around it with the paper around it so you can like slide it out and then open the foil that way.
I think I remember.
If I saw it, I'd be like, yeah, because I love Crunch Bars back in the day. Because I know it's different. I just don't know what the old one was. That's crazy. I'm an old ass man. I can't remember stuff. Shit.
Facebook.
Oh, hey, Man Shorts put up another video.
Do we have sounds, sir?
Oh, I don't know yet.
Yeah, there's sound.
Is it good? Is it coming through the microphones?
Well, I can hear it on my computer. That's not totally muted.
Okay.
Guys, what's up?
This is why I like doing this.
That's good sound, right?
Oh. That was the best part.
Are we doing a Mikey from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Pretty much.
Oh, there we are.
Making references some of our audience might not get.
So 4 people are watching right now, and who are those 4 people?
Me.
It's a good question.
Is it us 4?
Well, I'm one of them.
I'm one of them.
I don't think it
5.
should be one of me because I'm streaming it.
Okay.
So, somebody else.
5 people watching, 4 people watching.
I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. Too much is going on.
But again, guys, we're still
Can you turn
getting
this
set
up?
up, so give us like a few more minutes. We'll be up and running.
You mind turning this up, Jason?
What up?
Yeah, it's really quiet.
Our volume.
Let's see.
Because I can hear us, but we're faint.
What about now?
I guess we'll find out in a sec.
3 weeks later.
I mean, I'm finding people don't say anything when the volume is low, so it's just like, I don't know until
No, it's still
until
low.
like Kara comes on and be like, I can't hear anything.
Yeah, it's still low.
Okay.
Because my volume's up all the way.
Okay. let
In my
me
headphones
check
too,
it
and I
out.
can't. I should say I can barely.
Okay. Testing. Not that I'm going to hear it for 30 seconds.
Should I take off the logo for this Coca-Cola? This delicious Coca-Cola product?
Guess you're not getting paid.
You got to make sure the label always points toward the camera. Yeah, brought to you by...
my deer park.
It's like, make sure I eat these Welch's fruit snacks.
Like, how bad is the volume?
Shit. Well, mine's up all the way, and I can hear us, but I have to be totally quiet to hear us.
Okay, test. Gaston, say something? Or crunching the microphone?
Something.
Okay. Steve,
We can make it that kind of podcast, right?
Well, see, I couldn't hear it now, but I'll keep talking.
Ryan.
Can you hear me?
No, not at all. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
So it's good through here. So I guess the output's not that good.
Yeah, it's really quiet.
Good thing, because Gaston's making so much noise.
No idea what you're talking about.
Oh, that's probably OBS then. Test.
Test.
Quiz?
Boo.
Steve, how's that going?
All right, let's see.
It sounds louder on my computer.
There it is. I'm starting to hear us.
That's a little better.
Okay. So there must be something.
I mean, we can just, at this point, since I can actually hear us,
Okay, so we're good on
we
sound.
can just adjust it as need
Okay,
be, I
you keep doing
suppose.
that. I'm going to try to get Facebook up.
Oh. Okay.
I like how the first suggestion after I write Mister is Satan.
What have you been doing? My goodness.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
Do they know what the? Yeah, they know.
They know. Hey, yeah! Fuck Goku!
Oh, awesome. Maybe.
So apparently, according to Guinan, the book The Shape of Water took place in Baltimore.
I've never read that book.
I don't think it
But
did.
I saw the post and I was like, okay.
I forget where it officially took place.
Baltimore.
I don't believe her.
Did you know Craig of the Creek also is in Maryland?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Is that show still?
Yeah, it still comes on.
Yeah.
I should say, does it have that Cartoon Network thing where it's like
so
once
it's,
every couple months we get an episode?
did you guys get a notification?
I've been got a notification for the stream.
Yep, there it is.
For
Facebook?
Yeah, I just got it
On
on
mine?
Facebook.
I just got it on Facebook.
I don't know where it is.
Yeah, but it says you're live, not we're live.
Okay, I'm about to put it on the page. If it's right. Son of a bitch. Maybe.
You want me to introduce the topic, or you want to do it since this is your child?
Oh man, what a pain.
All right, just let us know when we need to start talking.
I mean, you're on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I know we're on YouTube.
but when Facebook is live, then we'll
Yeah.
start the podcast.
Let me get
That
this
might
right
take a
up in
second.
my face.
Yeah, I need a sick intro for this, and I don't have a good one. All right, so the points of order are just about when we're going to discuss what they
Well,
say in
this-
chat, right?
This is the umbrella.
No. Because I'm just doing the whole introducing podcast. You introduce the topic.
What?
He wants to just say hi.
Welcome to the
show.
podcast.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
before we get started, the things we had to
So they can't hear you.
the thing we had to talk about was just when we're addressing what they say in chat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Like how we're changing the format.
Okay.
I'm fun.
A little.
So are we going to start with whole Facebook, or? Are we
Yeah, start without Facebook.
Oh.
Just say go to YouTube, and I'm going to try to get the Facebook up.
Well, we should probably wait then.
Yeah, because
If we say go to YouTube,
then
Well,
people
Facebook
already
is not
YouTube
up.
will already know.
For any subsequent people.
um,
just put that in the thing real quick.
Some days. I swear.
We've had 10 views so far.
Hey, we're only 7 minutes late too. So it's like a record or something.
You know,
Crap.
this is why I like coming on Wednesdays to try things out.
What? I thought I turned this off.
Display.
Wait, did you both post the same thing just now?
Mm-mm.
Go there. Oh, I get it. Okay. Okay, we good? Oh, I guess gas is not finished yet.
No, I'm good. I'm typing the description. We're fine.
You just do that after.
Why?
Because I'm
people
sitting
like to
here.
jump in,
No,
man.
because I'm literally sitting here waiting for you to finish so I can get started. That's why.
I mean, is the volume right, bro?
Yeah. Anyway, are you guys ready?
Jason, you ready?
Go ahead.
We're
still
doing
working on it.
YouTube. Okay, well, that's fine.
All right, guys, we're officially about to get started.
All right, yeah. So we're gonna be live, and it's like right now. Anyway, hello and welcome to this week's episode of At What's In Podcast. I am your co-host, co-host Steve. This is Ryan, and that's Gaston.
And Jason, our producer, is in the back.
Yeah, he's
Somewhere.
there. Say hey, Jason. What's up?
Hey, Jason, what's up?
Yeah, I knew he was going to do that. That's fine. Anyway, before we get started, just a couple points of order. We're kind of altering the format of the show a little bit. So before we would just kind of ramble on for hours, this time we're going to be trying a more structured sort of schedule, if you will. And we'll get to all the chat interaction stuff at the end. So if you have a comment or a question, we'll address it toward the end of the show. Don't get upset if we don't, do it immediately.
I'll still monitor the chat and say hi to you in written form, but we just won't shout you out.
We want to keep the flow.
Gonna keep it moving.
Yeah, like a nice rapper. We have a nice flow. See what I did there? I'm connecting with the urban youth by referencing rap.
That's your urban gangster flavor.
Haha. Anyway, yeah. So that's all the points of order. It's only just the one, so we can just go ahead and get started.
How about the subtlety?
Yeah, it's fine. It's an
Subtlest.
art. It's an art.
So what's today's topic, guys? Do you know?
You were introducing it.
I know. I was trying to get y'all to help me introduce it, but fine. So
Yeah, one job, Ryan.
today is an interesting topic because it encompasses a lot. We're talking about is there really a gauge for what we can consider offensive, or who should view certain types of content, particularly in certain medias like entertainment media, social media, and even game media, like video games and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, basically, what we're looking at is it possible to gauge how offensive something might be, and then whose responsibility is it to hide that from a potential audience member?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Does it? Cool. Okay. So let's just hop right in. So the biggest news of the week, or at least if you believe the internet, the biggest news of the week is that shock, surprise, surprise, Tumblr is going to ban porn.
What am I going to do on Sunday nights now?
Right.
Did you see the website?
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't.
Well, I wouldn't even say pornographic. Adult content is what they use. Is that phrasing?
Well,
Yeah,
if you read what they said, they are banning anything that depicts a pornographic act. So if you can still post art and certain artistic references.
I mean, there can
that
still be
include
nudity. Yeah.
So
Well,
like, nudity's not gone. Just like you can't show like just like you can't post Bowsette getting plowed by Mario anymore.
however, though, there have been other posts where like people have tried to test the limit. So like somebody used their elbow, for example, like a well-shaped elbow.
I did see that.
And-
Was that real though?
Yeah,
Yes, it was real. It got flagged like right away.
How do we know it's real? What I'm saying is, how do we know it's real? If someone just said, "Hey, I did this thing. This is what happened." There's no evidence for that. As far as I'm concerned, it's fake because it's the internet. But
I mean,
Keep going.
how often are you on the internet?
enough to know that people post fake stuff all the time.
So not a
He's
lot.
not totally wrong.
I'm not saying that it's completely fake or like but I'm saying like things like that have popped up or like people who have post like some normal videos, they've noticed that it's been either flagged or taken down, like while during this transition period is what I'm getting into.
Okay.
But then it's also weird because like you can still find like racial stuff on there, like
Yeah, that's something I've never understood.
like you can still find like neo-Nazism stuff on there or like white supremacy stuff on there, and none of that stuff has been flagged.
Yeah,
But
because it's not against the law.
again, like they're doing this whole purge of mature content, and it's like, well, at what point do we say like other things probably should get pulled as well?
Now to be
I don't know if you guys could heard that, but
Yeah.
our producer is about to poison the town.
So
is that just
you
going
need
to be?
to show the YouTube link.
I was about to say, is that just going to be your you letting us know that you have something to say from now on?
You know,
It also occurs to me that if no one heard that, me saying he's about to poison the town makes no sense.
Yeah, we're just going to.
His ringtone is the Kafka laugh, in case no one heard it. So
And for those of our people who are on Facebook, I am posting the YouTube link on our Facebook page now. So anyway, continue.
What I was gonna say is
Wait.
before
you were talking.
was he?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan was talking.
Do you mind, sir?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Before we continue the conversation, I just want to address what you said about legality.
Oh, well, I was
the-
specifically referring to the fact that the reason that they...
Free speech and stuff like that.
Oh, well, there's that, but also the reason that this exists in the first place is because they had a problem with people putting child porn up.
Oh well, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
the main
wanted to mention
cause.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, so the reason that Tumblr is making this move is because child pornography has surfaced on their website.
Which I'm like proud of them for like taking a stand against that.
You just want your porn.
I don't necessarily.
To quote Granddad, you want your big titty porn.
I mean, I totally don't care. I mean, I'm not a Tumblr user in the first place, but I am glad that they're taking a stand against child pornography, like saying like we're not okay with that, because there are probably many other sites that would be like, well, and just shrug it off.
Fuck it, that person's banned, pretty much.
Well,
Yeah.
even then.
But like they're taking a major stand against it, saying like we do not want this, we do not want to be affiliated with this, and so they're taking a stand. I think to a certain extent, for a lot of users they're taking it too far. But I think at the current moment, them taking a stand is one of the biggest things they could do, and one of the best things they could do for that reason.
Yeah.
Well, you good?
I just said what I said,
Okay.
which was yes, I agree.
To play devil's advocate, though, like, okay, full disclosure, I also do not care that Tumblr is banning porn. There's a million other places on the internet to find porn.
What places?
I mean, would you like a comprehensive list? Or?
Yes, please.
You can Google a comprehensive list of where to find porn. I guarantee it. I guarantee Google.
I mean, Google is technically a porn site.
Yeah, right?
Turn safe search off.
Actually, didn't
Everything goes.
random like aside. Didn't because Google had so much porn of Erin Esurance, didn't Esurance have to change the logo to a box?
That's why she doesn't exist in anything. Is because at one point the top search, if you just searched for Esurance or her specifically, was just porn. So
They should have left it there. They probably would have got more business. But anyway, to play devil's advocate, let me ask you guys a question. So yes, I appreciate that they took a stand and banned pornographic images from their site.
Mhm.
But couldn't they have just done something similar to what Bethesda recently did to a couple of Fallout 76 players? What they did was those people were like harassing somebody with gay slurs, homophobic slurs, so they banned that group for life.
Arguable. Did you listen to it? Look, that's not different topic.
So you want to take this answer, Steve, or do you?
So couldn't they have like banned the people who posted that?
I mean,
instead of getting rid of it, period.
Yeah, but then what's to stop from happening in the future? So the issue is if it's up for any amount of time, then you messed up, right? So like if, say me, I'm just Joe Schmo who's into some CP. I just want to post some child porn. I just want to post them on the internet. If I make a Tumblr and I put it up, that's maybe, at the very least, maybe like 30 minutes where it's just up there for anyone to see.
Yeah.
And that's 30 minutes too much. So.
And to also play Angel's Advocate, at the same time, what's to stop them from creating another account and just doing it again?
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of people who get banned from one thing do. Like, just take the Facebook bans, for instance. You get banned from one profile, you make another temporary profile until you get unbanned from Facebook, or you keep that new profile till you get banned from that profile, and cycle continues.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Is this from personal experience?
Yes, men are trash.
It was like Ryan. I thought you said like Ryan's not even his real name. What are you talking about?
But no, like I know there was like a good like 3 months of like people getting banned for saying men are trash on Facebook, and you had to just create a new profile until you got unbanned because some people were banned for like a whole month or two, and some people were just banned for like a day or like a week. So like you just had that temporary profile for that thing. So to answer your question, I don't think it would be good enough to just ban that person for life because of the possibility of them just being able to say, well, here's another profile, more child pornography. So to take a stand and say all the content is gone, it makes it a lot harder for those people to upload those things on that platform.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You're such a bad devil's advocate.
I mean, I just wanted to ask a question. If I could play devil's advocate one more time, why don't they just moderate the site?
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, but
was that done? Question over.
Because I've seen a lot of people post, well, instead of banning porn altogether, why didn't they just moderate it to make sure they caught the child porn before it got out? But how do you
catch something before it gets out?
Yeah, like how do you moderate? First of all, how do you moderate pictures that specifically for that many millions of people?
How much CP was going up? I'm gonna stop calling it that, by the way. But
I mean,
how much was going up? Do we know?
I
know they had enough that it was a problem. Where they,
I will say this: the internet is a vast place, and Tumblr I'm saying was like it died. Like it is a big platform where there's a lot of different communities. So the possibility of it being a lot is astronomical.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted because I'm like, there's only like a little bit.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
On Tumblr.
So I mean, I don't know if they have like a quantifiable number of like how many things they have found and flagged, but I can tell you that it's probably more than the average. Because like even if you go to
the average is 0. So
I mean, we would hope so.
We will like for it to be 0, but like even if you go to adult websites, like you can probably still find some things on there, or just titles that infer it.
That's probably
even though it's not true.
That's probably true.
So like it's really hard to say like this was directly like child pornography or this was not. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm glad that he took a stand. Like it and I know people feel like they're taking it too far because that's my source of content. It's like, well, that's kind of sad. But I mean, I do know a lot of artists and creators are affected by it because of some of the stuff that they do create. That's not actually child pornography, but it is adult content.
Yeah,
I know they are being affected by it, and so until they can kind of figure it out, yeah, they will have to try to do something else.
Yeah. Plus, I think
look,
like
Pornhub already said that they could just post their stuff on there and just keep going
That's true.
regardless.
But not everybody's comfortable with going to a site called Pornhub.
Okay. There's 4chan. There's DeviantArt.
wow.
A bunch of other places.
Yo
to
said-
get
Are you
bored
are you
at.
going to throw Black Planet up there?
dude.
Huh?
Are you going to throw Black Planet up there in MySpace?
I mean, look, if you really about that life.
I don't think anyone is. All right, so that was like specifically about Tumblr. We should circle back to
The issue at hand.
the original topic of discussion.
Well, let me just ask the question then regarding Tumblr. Is it Tumblr's actual responsibility to protect their audience from those images?
I wouldn't say it's their responsibility to protect the audience. It's their responsibility to protect A, themselves, and B, the issue. Because by them doing nothing, they're saying it's okay for child pornography.
That's not true, but go ahead.
I mean, it's one of those speculative things where it's like, you know, if you voted for this person, you must agree with them, type thing. It's very speculative.
Yeah, but if we acknowledge that that's not.
I'm acknowledging that it's not totally true, but if they are allowing it though, they are taking a side in a sense by doing nothing. Inaction is still doing something.
Yeah, okay.
But two, yes, to protect, they have the responsibility to protect themselves. So if you know, they by them saying like this is not okay, they in the future, if something happens, they can say like we wrote the policy that is not okay. So like they violated our policy, so we're not at fault for that. That person's at fault. So they have to start somewhere.
That makes sense, but I guess like it's difficult for the internet because at what point does Tumblr need to protect audiences from the pornographic images, and then at what point is it like just an audience member's responsibility to like not search for adult images if they shouldn't be?
Well, I don't really think it's about protection in the first place, because it's at least for the audience. Because first of all, Tumblr's not. They don't have an audience. It's a platform.
Yeah.
It's like Twitter, so they're not really protecting people from content. It's more like they're hosting content. So like as far as child porn is concerned, that's against the law, so it's a little different than protecting your audience from seeing something, you know, disagreeable. Right? And since it's a porn ban overall, it's not doing it to protect anyone except themselves. They're just doing it so that they will never have an issue with child porn again. And that's the only way to guarantee that it doesn't happen is to get rid of all of it. So, in terms of like protecting people, it's not really relevant to Tumblr, I don't think. It's not in this case.
Yeah.
Now, like if you was to take like another example of where they have a responsibility to protect their community, it would be like the Bethesda thing. Like I feel like they do have the option there to protect their players from you know discrimination, hate, and certain content.
Yeah.
To go back to your other example of Bethesda.
Rewind.
In that case, I feel like they would have the responsibility to protect their people, but when it comes to like the internet, it's kind of hard to say like you have to protect the internet from themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of lawless, but not at the same time.
Oh no, it's not lawless. The law is that that there is no rules.
Got 'em.
Yeah.
Oh, except for Rule 34, 35.
Oh, but we're getting rid of that on Tumblr, so.
No,
No. Doesn't have to be porn. Anyway. But yeah, as far as Bethesda is concerned, I think, because that's a product, so they'd be, although it does say, I think it says online interactions aren't rated by the ESRB, so.
well, yeah, that's
Technically,
that's true.
Legally, they're not even required to do anything.
But I think out of this kind of obligation.
Yeah, I think that's what since they were trying to go for a persistent online community, I'll say, it makes sense they would try to do things to make it better or protect people. I think they went too far in this case because if you listen to the clips, it just sounds like a bunch of 12-year-olds being assholes.
I think the problem isn't, well, to go on that real fast, the problem that they had wasn't with the initial act because they were only going to ban him for a few days at first. The problem was when they contacted him and asked him to apologize, he specifically came out and said, no, I won't apologize. we planned this jokingly. We didn't know the guy, and I wouldn't take it back.
Yeah, okay.
And so at that point, then they banned him and whoever it was for life.
That's took it too far. It's just a shitty joke.
I mean,
why would you get offended over a crappy joke? That seems
probably
a little much.
Probably because they wouldn't leave him alone after a while, and then also partly because just you kind of got like I feel like them banning that group for life is them sending a message to everyone else who might do that joke.
That's fine. That's fine. Like they can do it. They're allowed to. I wouldn't have banned them for life. Maybe like a month or two, a year maybe.
I mean, not to say that Fallout 76 is the best game or anything either.
Yes.
So
Yes, I've.
Yeah, I guess its lifespan won't even be that long. So, you know, you never. Oops.
I mean, I like Fallout series, but yeah, 76. I've heard it had a lot of problems so far during startup. But that's neither here or there or related to this topic. That was just a personal opinion there.
So, I mean, we can talk about Skyward Sword too if you want. Like, come on.
Look, I would just like to note that literally the last 3 times we filmed, I haven't even been the first one to bring
it didn't actually mean for you to start talking about it. I was just joking.
Are we talking about Breath of the Wild?
No, we're not. Anyway.
So for those in here, our producer screamed, "Are we talking about Breath of the Wild?"
Anyway.
Skyward Sword sucks.
See, he did it. That was him. I was ready to move on.
Let's continue. So, we agree that the internet is kind of difficult, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say difficult. It's just you can't protect something from itself.
No.
All the time.
Yeah, the internet's so wide open that it's pretty difficult for any.
It's constantly confused trying to attack another Pokemon, and so it might hurt itself in confusion.
I think the problem is we're talking about the internet as like a whole thing that has a will of its own. It's not. It's just a bunch of individual people who sometimes act as a group and sometimes don't. So can you protect some individual users from other individual users?
Yes.
And their content? Sure. I mean, that seems perfectly reasonable. It's just doing so isn't necessarily the responsibility of whatever platform.
That's what I'm saying. The platform can't protect.
Yeah, but
protect the internet from the internet. That's what I'm saying.
See, and I'm saying
you
keep saying internet from the internet. It's
because I'm not going to say individual users because
that's what it is.
The individual users make up the internet. So I'm using the internet as a plural.
Well, let me say this real quick. Because the issue here is, for example, does Facebook need to prevent certain users from seeing certain things on Facebook? Or is it that user's responsibility to be able to discern, I should go to Facebook for this, or if I don't want to see a certain image, I should go to a different site?
Well, it depends. Because I think the nature of Facebook,
not just Facebook, but
well, I mean, I'll just do.
Yeah, I was about to say that one's a little bit tricky to answer too.
Because it would depend on the site. If you have the option to look at stuff before you view it, right? So if it's say YouTube, I can look at a thumbnail and the title of the video before I look at the video.
Yeah,
that's on me. YouTube doesn't have to be like, "Are you sure you want to watch this? It's pretty mature. Are you ready?" Like,
I mean, they still do.
They do, but they don't have to because as a user, I can look at it and go, "Nah, I don't want to see this" or something, right? For the most part.
And then you can also, not to cut you off, but you can also set limits. So if you have kids that might, take your iPod or iPad.
Does YouTube have a kids section?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a YouTube.
Yeah,
Kids app.
you can actually have settings to stop them from going to certain dark parts of the internet. Or dark parts of YouTube. You can try to set it so that they can't get there as easily because they can still get there.
Yeah,
through algorithms and randomness.
Look, you put in the
but it makes
times.
It makes it a lot harder to get there for if you're trying to if you have child settings or something on there.
Yeah. Now, it's different for a platform like Twitter. Well, it's different in that it doesn't work the same way, but it's still at that point the user's responsibility because you can block people. So I get called nigger one time on Twitter, I just block that person. I'm not dealing with that. I can do that.
Was it the hard R or the soft?
It didn't actually happen. It was a hypothetical. I don't have a Twitter. Twitter's trash.
But no, I was saying that situation was the hard R or soft.
Oh, it doesn't really matter.
It makes all the difference.
It doesn't. I was being serious, so that's why it doesn't matter. If I was joking, I'd be laughing and be like, "Yeah, you're right, hard R." But in all seriousness, it wouldn't really matter. I just block that person, and it wouldn't be that'd be the whole end of me getting offended by whatever on Twitter. But if it were, I would say, if we're talking individual creators or a group who makes a product, at that point, then that person they have more responsibility because they have a direct connection to their audience. So if they put out something that's offensive, like give me a creator quick.
Bethesda,
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Coca-Cola.
So yeah,
John
no, that's
Trump,
fine too.
'cause he's
Coca-Cola.
offensive.
We'll bring it way back to Coca-Cola. So say we have this wonderful Coca-Cola product like this vanilla Coke, right? They make it for me, and I'm like, cool, I love this. But then they come out with a new product, and it tastes like I don't know. But they
Slime.
advertise it. They say it's just like it was before. This is delicious Coca-Cola. But then there's like cocaine in it, and like I don't know. At some point, sure, it's my responsibility to look at the ingredients and be like, oh, there's crack in this Coca-Cola. But on the other hand, it is still the creator's responsibility. I would argue to say, oh, by the way, there's drugs in this Coke.
Well, if I may come in with actually, at that point, for your example, it would not be your responsibility
It's the FDA.
because, like, legally, when you have a product, you're supposed to. Look, at my job, we had to take a training on this.
Okay, look, I understand the law. It was just an example about
No,
content.
I'm saying it is a good example because what happens is like when you produce something, you have to put warning labels or like what's in it or what somebody should expect in a place and in a font that is reasonable for them to see.
So, going off of that, we can take video games for example next, because they have big warning labels on there that says this game is rated this for these
reason.
things,
Yeah.
and it for immature or what's the
It's like MT.
No, there's still
E10.
adults also.
Yeah, but they'll say like M for mature, and they'll say for this content written right there on top of it. How many people still ignore those?
Well, it's on the back, Ryan. So
No, it's not.
I don't want to read it.
The rating of every game is on the front, but
Oh, you're
specifically,
right.
like
The
stuff,
content
yeah,
is on
it's
the
on the
back.
back.
Yeah. But
'Cause it
like
has to be on the front.
how many people would ignore those? Because
But
like
look, I'm a tired parent, and my son wants GTA. I'm over it. I'm just gonna get it.
yeah, I think the problem
I
is
don't-
like if you understand the content, like say, like I don't know, I was gonna buy, God forbid, Call of Duty or something, right? If I'm a parent and I don't know anything about video games, but my son or whoever is like, I want Call of Duty, I wouldn't look at the rating. Well, I would personally, but I think a lot of people, instead of looking at the rating, they just look at the content and go, okay, it's a shooting game, you kill people, whatever. They watch that on TV all the time, right? So you just buy the game anyway.
And then they get upset when they play a Call of Duty game and you shoot an airport.
Yeah, like or like in GTA, you can get hookers and do blow. Maybe can you do crack in GTA?
Some people. do that in real
it's
life.
not called that in there, but
There's drugs, right?
Yeah, they
Okay.
are.
Yeah, but I'm saying so if I thought I understood the content, but I didn't look at the rating. Like if I was like, hey, I'm gonna get GTA 5 for my kid who's I don't know 13, I get the game, be like, it's a shooting game, which it sort of is, and there's crime involved. But I'm like, they watch it on TV, so it's okay, right? But then when there's a bunch of extra stuff that would normally be on the rating, what would say sexual content or drug use, I think is another one, right?
Yeah.
It says that on there, but I didn't read it, and I thought it was only violence. Then that's when people get upset and go like, oh, this game, there's so much graphic,
But
so
I mean,
and so.
I feel like at the same time, like you can compare it to movie ratings. Like you kind of know what to expect when you get a movie rating. So if like if it's what was an R-rated movie?
I was like G, PG, PG-13, R, what?
I was like, what was Deadpool rated? God. But like if it was like the difference between an R-rated movie and a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, fuck.
Yeah, you can only say it once.
Yeah.
Versus like as many times as you want to.
Right.
But to be fair, I don't think most parents know that the difference between PG-13 and R is like I don't think most people know that.
Well, I mean, but literally it wouldn't matter.
But you know that there is a clear difference. So like when you're looking at a game and it says like, hey, M for mature or like E for everyone, like you can probably say like I wouldn't say 5. My 9-year-old son probably shouldn't play an M for mature game. Like I don't care how easy it is, what content is in here. My 9-year-old son probably should not have this game. But you can get this rated E for everyone. Now when it gets weird when it's like E10 plus or
I think it's for cartoon violence is E10 plus.
well, like think Mario Odyssey is E10 plus.
Yeah, cartoon violence.
the only reason
because Pokemon.
the only reason it's E10 plus is because of the tank, the tank board. Yeah, the
That makes
Sherm.
sense. That makes sense.
That was the only reason they changed that rating, and to me that doesn't make sense to change it from E to E10 plus. Like
I mean, it's largely the same thing.
it
From a
kind of
consumer standpoint.
it is. It's still E for everyone. Like it's just like, oh, it might be something that might be a little touchy, but like when you like, if I'm looking at Call of Duty, I'm looking at Mario. Like you can tell there's a clear difference in content, delivery, just from looking at the art style, like the box, and it's like you should know like that this is not for everyone. So in that case, it is not the company's fault that these parents are buying the game. And
it wouldn't be their fault anyway. Like you could put a freaking pony on the cover. It's not the company's fault if the rating is there, and you can just look online beforehand.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
like
going back to like, is it their responsibility to protect the consumer? They already did their job.
Yeah, exactly.
So
this guy.
So they already did their job. It's just that the consumer failed to do their part to protect themselves.
Exactly.
Because you're like, hey, this is very. It's like, hey, coffee's hot, and then.
You spill it in your lap anyway because you hold it without a label.
Speaking of hot coffee, GTA.
Oh God,
that it came all the way back around.
Right.
That was a good accomplishment.
I feel like
That's
you
pretty
need
good.
to start introducing yourself with the Kafka laugh.
That's fine.
But yeah, like we all know that coffee's hot, but yes, it was the industry as a whole for not putting the warning label on there initially.
Yeah.
Before like the incidents happened that caused. The industry to get sued. And I'm saying industry because I know it was like
Specifically McDonald's. Yeah.
McDonald's, but
Everyone
as a
does
whole,
it now.
as a whole, everybody had to change. That's why I'm saying the industry.
Yeah.
So that was their fault because they like. Yes, it should be common sense, but we still need to protect them from themselves and also ourselves from them because our pockets are deep, but not that deep.
Right.
Now,
So
she got like millions of dollars from that crap, dude.
she did.
It's crazy.
But let me ask this question. So, I think with video games especially, it is like even if you did read warning labels, it's difficult to really tell the content before you play it. So, as an example, everybody's familiar with Fortnite, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What would you think Fortnite is rated?
T for teen.
Yeah.
Okay. It is rated T for teen, but it's most popular with kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what's on the box? It's just colorful characters. I think they're holding guns. I don't remember.
I mean, so is Team Fortress and Overwatch.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Plus, originally, it's not. It was like a horde game, a zombie like tower
that's
defense
still
kind of
there.
thing. I know it's. But I'm saying originally, that's the game it was.
In fact, it makes so much money
So-
from people buying just V-Bucks that they just gave that up for free now.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, V-Bucks. But nah, like
I feel
so.
like that's how I got laid. You want some V-Bucks?
So it's interesting. So Fortnite is rated T for teen for violence.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then the ESRB, I don't know if this is on the back of the box. I don't think it is, but they give a rating summary.
Mhm.
And their summary just says, this is an action game in which players build forts, gather resources, craft weapons, and battle hordes of monsters in frenetic combat. From a third-person perspective,
Like the team
players
knows what
use...
frenetic means.
Right. From a third-person perspective, players use guns, swords, and grenades to fight skeleton-like monsters called husks in ranged and close-quarters combat.
Was that the original Fortnite?
Yeah, that's for the base.
Because I was about to say, because if you're talking about the new Fortnite, they probably changed it.
This was...
Actually, because it's a mode in the game, so wouldn't it even?
Yeah,
be?
I'm on the ESRB site itself, and this was under, like, recently rated.
And online interactions aren't rated by ESRB, so it wouldn't tell you what people
that's
say
like-
in general. But it would
That's
it
like
would
the
just
best game.
because
Now
it's so different than
No, what's
well,
interesting
killing
to
people
me,
is different.
that was rated T for teen. Smash Bros. Ultimate, what would you think?
same.
E10 plus.
It's
Or,
E10 plus. But what's
Wasn't
the
Brawl
difference?
10?
One
sorry,
of them
wasn't
was
Brawl
teen. Yeah,
teen?
Brawl was teen. For the subspace emissary, probably. I don't know.
yeah, I think that's.
Yeah,
I
but
think it was-
Ultimate is
Yeah.
like this is
That's
the problem. Like
interesting.
if you're a parent, like what's really the difference between E10 plus and teen?
Because all right, so when you look at Smash Brothers,
It says suggestive themes next to the rating.
when you look at Smash
Have
Brothers,
you seen Palutena?
when you look at Smash Brothers, you have a clear understanding that these are cartoons.
Well, Snake shows up.
You have a clear
Cartoons.
you have a clear understanding that these are cartoons, and you can most of the iconic characters are from video games. Whereas like things like Fortnite, Call of Duty, they have a sense of realism to them. And I'm not saying Fortnite has like extreme realism, but
Their
there is,
representations of real things, clearly.
yeah, they have more realism to them. Whereas E10 plus Smash Brothers is senseless cartoon violence. So
It does, but like the pushback would just be, I get what Steve said. So in Fortnite, these are clearly like humans.
Mhm.
They're meant to represent humans on some level,
Mhm.
and they're blowing each other up, stabbing, shooting, etc.
Well, there's no blood. That's why it's rated T. For T.
Yeah, but Smash also like they're human characters, even though they clearly represent video game characters.
Yeah, but
They're still shooting and stabbing each other. There's no blood.
how many Links have you ever seen?
I mean, like cosplay wise.
No, but what I mean is,
I get what you mean.
he's
But how
clearly-
many
he's-
Fortnite people have I seen?
in general, they look. You couldn't meet those people. That's what I'm saying. They're caricatures of people in Fortnite, right?
Yeah.
But in Smash, it's just basically cartoon characters.
It's like-
That's the difference.
it's like looking at Tom and Jerry and thinking that's real. Like you can't really do that.
Yeah.
Versus looking at like
Class of 3000.
For the
and
record,
thinking that's real.
I agree with you guys. I'm just
Well,
for the sake of argument.
I know what you're doing, and I'm just saying like
No.
yes.
That's fine.
Because I mean, I would like.
I feel like a better comparison would be like Plants vs Zombies,
Okay. Yeah.
where that could actually scare a kid if they're not prepared for it, versus like Pokemon.
A lot of M-rated games this year.
Have you
Randomly.
seen Nido King?
It's scary.
Gores people, man.
I'm right. Like some of the descriptions in the Pokedex is like, yo, what?
Have you seen anything get hit with horn drill in Pokemon Stadium?
Yo.
Shit is scary.
It is.
And guillotine, you learn what guillotine is in real life. You're like, why would you name a Pokemon move guillotine?
Or
Right.
Fisher.
Or Singularity, or whatever one is, like where it has a singularity that just can destroy everything. I forgot what it's called. I think it's like black holes, or it like creates a mini black hole, like a mini black hole. Like,
Oh, the Z move, Black Hole Eclipse.
yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Scary stuff, guys. Scary
Or,
stuff.
I was like,
what's the fairy move? Like, let's play forever or whatever.
No, it's Mimikyu's Z move is Let's Cuddle Forever.
Oh, that's what it is.
So,
Yo, that's terrible.
Would you mind looking up the ESRB rating for Plants vs Zombies? I think it's E10 plus or E for everyone.
Yeah. Just give me a sec.
But like those are two games that are like they're not even in the same genre, but I could probably use those as a close comparison. Like, what's the difference?
Mhm.
Because like Pokemon, you send a 10-year-old child out to fight and battle with like animals, and their task is to save the world half the time because of some random organization,
Only twice.
and stranger danger all the time. Like versus Plant versus Zombie, where it's like
Stranger Danger thing, but okay. Okay.
I mean, you just walking down the road.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's not. You can't run away.
Hey, battle me.
Yeah.
It's like,
you can't run away
let's
from
fight.
it.
my
Let's
mom
fight
said
our
not to
animals.
talk to you. You can just walk away.
So it's interesting. So the Plants vs Zombies is rated E10. Is rated E10 for mild cartoon violence, animated blood.
What about the other
I mean,
one?
Pokemon
fantasy
is.
violence.
I mean, Pokemon is.
Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu are both rated E for mild cartoon violence.
The baby version.
What about Pokemon?
What about Pokemon Black and White?
Well, Pokemon Ultra Moon,
It's a
Ultra
manly.
Sun, Gold version, Silver version, Sun and Moon, Rumble World. Oh, this is interesting to me. Pokemon Sun and Moon are E.
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon Rumble World is somehow E10 plus.
What's the difference?
There is
Nobody
no difference. They
knows.
both say mild cartoon violence.
So,
That's interesting.
but what I'm getting at is, so Plants vs Zombie. Y'all played that game before, right?
Yeah.
Wait, which one are you talking about? Garden Warfare or the original?
The original.
They're all rated E10 plus for the same reasons.
Garden Warfare is 2?
So like you look at you look at that and you say like, why is this E10 plus? And then you read that stuff and then you look at Pokemon and you're doing like way more in Pokemon. That's
You're battling animals,
I
and in
mean-
some cases, the world is destroyed.
Light that blots out the sun. What's it
So-
called?
Yes.
Darkness that swallows the sun. Like,
I can
that's crazy.
I can see the confusion there and like the rating, but then when you put Pokemon against,
Call of Duty.
I'm trying to take a
Oh,
step
one
back
step
from-
at a time. Go ahead.
I'm
Like
trying to
Sky-
take a step back from Call of Duty because I feel like we're getting on Call of Duty, like something like Battlefield or
It's the same thing.
I know, or
like
like
Overwatch
or
or
Gears of
something
War,
like that.
like
Oh,
Gears of War.
That's something.
Like where it's a clear jump in content where it's just like blood, gore, cursing, nudity, the like that makes sense. but like when it's like so close and it's like the parent like gets the game, it was like, oh, Plants vs Zombie, it look kind of cute. Like maybe won't be bad, and then they actually see the consoles like, well, okay, I don't want my child playing this. I can understand that, like the frustration there, but when you're looking at mature stuff, mature is mature no matter what age you are. Like it's always going to be mature. Like if you see mature, you know that there's content in there that is not for younger viewers.
Right.
And it's like, come on, you have to use common sense there.
Yeah, I think it's more as far as like people not doing their due diligence. They would just look at the game, right? So I would say there's mature is mature. You're right, but there's different types of mature. So like mature violence, as far as America is concerned,
that's nothing.
That's like, who cares? Like as long
I
as
can
we're,
go to school.
like
and say that.
as long as we're not doing Mortal Kombat level stuff, it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat is the whole
then,
reason to start.
Yeah, I'm saying, but even then, right?
And Night Trap,
Yeah, that game is boring.
where women are shown in
It's panties, I think, right?
no,
That's the worst.
Not
it gets?
even that. They're like in
Nightgowns and
they're
junk?
just ready to go to bed.
Whatever.
Pretty much.
But like, so I would say, it's like a rated R movie, right? So when, like, you want to keep the rating down, but when you can't and you have an R rating, producers and directors will just say, okay, we have an R rating, so we'll just do whatever we want. Quentin Tarantino does it all the time. He gets an R-rated movie and he just does whatever he wants with the R rating, right? It's gonna be
He
violence,
pretty much
sex,
plays it.
drugs, whatever, right? Whereas a game, they can do the same thing when they have an M rating. They can do like whatever, violence and sex. But unless you read the warning on the back, the rating on the back, you wouldn't know specifically what the M was for. So like you look at a game, like I don't know, Duke Nukem, right? You would just say, oh, it's a first-person shooter, whatever. I've seen Call of Duty, I've seen Battlefield. You get the game, but then you were like, oh, there's nudity in it too, right? Unless you read the label on the back, you wouldn't even know that.
Yeah, no.
And I think that's the difference between people going like, the game, they didn't tell me this, when they do. But
Yeah.
I think that's where the complaint comes from, when you have one type of mature which you think is fine, violence, but then you end up getting different types of mature, which are like drug use and nudity and sex.
Or
And
suggestive
like I said, I
use.
agree with you, and I'm saying that responsibility lies on the consumer. That is a user error,
Yeah. Yes.
not a PC
Yes.
error.
Correct.
Okay. They even have more options. Like if you're getting it from a game store, you can ask the people in the game store, like, hey, do you know about this game? And most game stores or most employees in the game store are knowledgeable of at least some of the content to say like, who are you getting it for? Like, no, you probably shouldn't get that. You probably shouldn't get that. And a lot of times people ignore those people and like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like
Sometimes they don't, but yeah, you're right though. At the very least, because they're required to know the ratings on most of the games.
and if they don't, they can say
They gotta cheat you.
Yeah, I was like they can turn it over and like, oh, it's rated immature for these reasons. Like, so your 15-year-old son, or 15 is like kind of cutting it close. Your 10-year-old
Yeah, we gotta make it obvious.
your 10-year-old son or daughter might not, it might not be the appropriate game for them. Like maybe look in the T for teens, because that's getting closer to the age range, and I can maybe help you there. Or, like if they are knowledgeable about the game, like no, like this game is terrible for them. Like it has cursing, nudity, this, that, and the third. It has the cult of Satan in there, the cult of God. I mean, that was Bayonetta pretty much.
Yeah.
So, at that point, that's where I say the responsibility lies. Now, as far as making the content, like if you're trying to sneak by some some in-game content, that's on the creator of the game, the creators of the game. So like, if you have a T rating and you're trying to sneak some mature content in and that the ESRB won't get, because there are some game designers that do that. Like they'll have like Easter eggs and stuff that are really risque or like so well hidden that when it is found, it's like, why is this in the game?
Yeah.
Or like innuendo that like Pokemon is known for the innuendo. Like, where did I pull these Pokeballs from? And it's like the girl in the bikini is like, come really, guys?
Or
Like,
like Tentacruel likes your mom.
yeah.
No, that's not, because that happens with all the Pokemon.
I mean, it does. They
Not
like your
just
mom.
Tentacruel.
But no, that was just a funny meme though.
Yeah, that's a meme.
But like stuff like that, like I can understand some frustrations with parents finding that in the game, saying like, why is this in an E10 game that I got from my 9-year-old son?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that makes sense. Now, I think the other issue is like looking at the ESRB rating system. Some of it is kind of confusing. Like, there's a very clear distinction between like mature and adults only and everything else. But like, is there really like a huge difference between E and E10?
That's what we just talked about.
No, I mean like if you're just looking at the label as a parent, like would you know?
That's what we was just talking about. Like
Well,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
hard to distinguish.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So then, what would you change it to? Like to try to fix it?
Like I wouldn't, because there isn't much of a difference anyway. I would just be like, it's fine. Like I'm pretty sure no parent would be like, there's a 5-year-old and they get an E10 game. No one's gonna be like,
I'm sure
you're not ready for this level of cartoon violence. Like no one's gonna do that.
I'm sure there's one out there somewhere.
I mean,
but,
look,
yeah,
there's
I know what
probably
you mean.
one somewhere, but for the most part, any kid who's good enough for an E game is probably fine with an E10 game, unless
Yeah,
they're literally a preschooler.
Yeah, I was about to say I think just the level of difficulty might just play a factor in there.
Yeah, sir.
Because like I think some, I'm not gonna say all E plus games, but a lot of E plus games, they add an extra level of content difficulty that if you gave it to like my 7-year-old niece, she might not understand it until I explain it to her, and it'll take her more time to figure it out. Versus like you gave it to like 11-year-old, 10-year-old, they can probably figure out the mechanics on their own. It's like just that level of progress. But as far as content, like I said, the only difference between Mario Odyssey and Mario Galaxy was the tank. Like
Odyssey's a better game, but
they said that the tank is pretty much the entire reason why it's an E plus game, because the tank shows like a realistic tank in a cartoon world destroying stuff.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I mean, at that point though, is the rating system? I don't think it's designed to include like difficulty or.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. In my mind, if I see E10 plus,
that's
versus
what you.
E, like I'll probably say like how difficult is this game? Now I'll probably like look at it more in detail. Say like what I want to get this for, however old my child is, versus do I think they can handle it?
Right, that makes sense. Okay.
I mean, video games are one thing, but let's move on to like movies and TV. Do you think
TV you can't? No.
TV rating systems all over?
Well, I'm not even worried about the rating system because at that point, unless you're gonna have parental blocks on certain channels and stuff, or be a good parent, whichever.
But I think with
nothing you can do.
like with TVs and movies, since we're talking about how confusing the rating system is, for movies, you have G and PG, right?
Yeah.
Do people know what PG means?
Parental
Parental
guidance.
Okay, so like I know you guys know, but I meant like
I'm a person.
people,
I guess I'm an alien now.
like in general.
Like it's racist over here.
What was that Facebook?
It's 'cause
thing
it-
you
it's 'cause you're
posted
black.
saying you weren't a man because you didn't do something with the tape measure, like you didn't extend it all the way and let it flop.
No, it was the stud finder.
Oh, that's what it was. Apparently, you have, in order to be a man, when you use a stud finder, you have to aim it at yourself and say "found one," or you're not a man.
I don't
That sounds
understand
like a
how
Why
this
would
has
I need to check?
I don't.
I don't understand how this has to do with people, but
Yeah, go
Nah, okay. So parental guidance suggested just means it may contain some material for parents that might like. It says that it may contain some material parents might not like for their children, right?
Well,
On
no,
the
I
other
get it
hand-
because no, go ahead.
On the other hand, for TV, it says that it contains material that parents will find unsuitable for young children. So a lot of times that means that it has a suggestive theme, suggestive dialogue, coarse language, some sexual situations, or moderate violence.
so like
Way
Gumball.
different from PG movies.
But yeah, but isn't a different organization?
Yeah, it's like saying
that
the
just-
ESRB is in charge of the movie ratings.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's different ratings.
Actually, I think the MPAA does do TV rating.
Well, you're right there.
I
You
am.
just check.
I am.
Well,
looking.
here's my response to that. I think Cartoon Network does a really good job of separating their content, like Adult Swim,
Oh.
Toonami versus Cartoon Network.
Yeah, but
like-
time slots. I got you.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job of sparing the kids. They're thinking of the children.
Sometimes.
And what they do right before adult content comes on, they say goodnight to Cartoon Network,
Yeah.
and then they give a warning that Adult Swim or Toonami is about to come on with mature content, so that the parents, if they're present,
Yeah.
if they're present, they can make the decision like, hey, you need to change the channel or
Send the kid to bed
yeah,
or whatever. Yeah,
or do something to prevent that child from watching these things.
yeah.
Um,
Do
and
they?
I know
Oh,
for
yeah.
certain things they'll give a warning before.
Mhm.
They say like this show may have like a trigger warning. I'm not.
I know they used to do it for. I know what you mean. They used to do it for About Chicken. I haven't seen, so
Yeah.
they might not do it anymore.
And I know they changed the format from actually like putting the rating and before the show to like putting it as the show opens.
Yeah, in like the corner or whatever.
Yeah, but like I do feel like they should go back to like, hey, this next show is TVMA, and then opening.
Yeah.
I think
But
HBO
then I think.
does that before they start shows.
Who?
But
Oh, like
like HBO, they'll tell you before.
Well, I
like,
mean
the show
HBO.
is
We already know HBO is like this. That's the Tumblr of. That's the Tumblr of cable world.
like you can't have a show on HBO unless it has nudity.
Yep.
Softcore.
Yeah, but then see, is Cartoon Network? I think as far as like having segmented content, excuse me. I think Cartoon Network is the only like kids channel that has that kind of thing. Because Nick at Night is a separate channel now. It's not.
It used to be.
Yeah, it used to be.
Yeah.
Because they used to have it separated with like cartoons all day. Then on Saturday you had Snick, where they slightly for a slightly older audience, which
For
is like
teenagers.
yeah, it was like preteens and stuff or whatever. And then they had Nick at Night like from midnight to like 5 in the 3. Sometime in the morning where they have like Golden Girls and junk.
Yeah.
Freaking
Golden Girls.
I don't know and other things.
I mean, I know that there are channels that show different things throughout the day.
But I mean, as far as cartoons and then clearly adult stuff.
Yeah, I was agreeing with you. Like, I don't think there's another channel I can personally think of.
Yeah.
But again, I don't watch too many other channels to be able to definitively say that.
That's fair. I couldn't either.
So do you think that that's an effective way of protecting the audience from material they shouldn't be watching?
You mean telling people to leave the room before you show something they shouldn't see? That's totally effective, especially if you're not in the room when you're telling them to leave.
I'm detecting a hint of sarcasm in
Well,
your voice.
it's not effective, but I mean,
It's a better way of doing it than just having
Banning
it
it.
just go on.
yeah. Like, because I imagine at a certain point you have to do something. You don't have to. Then I don't think they're required. But in a show of good faith, it'd be better for them to say, hey, this is mature content. Kids leave the room. Like, a parent would appreciate that if they're watching with their kids. But nowadays, I don't.
Well, do you think
it's
it's
that
the
common.
parents' job?
Yeah. To parent their kids? Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you don't understand because you don't have a kid.
It is the parents' job to monitor, at least in some small form,
Hold up.
the content intake of their kids.
Kidless Gaston, what do you mean?
Got him.
I'm just repeating what I've heard parents say to me, that I don't understand what it's like to have a kid.
So I'm
I
asking
shouldn't comment on parents.
That's dumb as hell.
Wait. Can I ask a question? Are these responsible parents though?
Yeah, because look, it's mostly people. The people who say you shouldn't.
Allegedly.
The people who say that are either like, whatever. They're just mad that you're talking about their parenting skills. But regardless, it is the parents' responsibility to monitor and
What their kid consumes.
yeah. And if they're too busy, if they're stressed out, sure, whatever. I'll be like, sure, you can do that, but don't get mad when your kid's watching porn at 4:00 in the morning.
So
But
when
then you go back to the whole, you can block certain content.
so when you say they're supposed to monitor what their kids consume, are you talking about literally what they're eating, or literally what they're
Well, yeah,
figuratively
that's fine.
what
I'm
they're
talking about
watching?
Either one of those is pretty. Either one of those is pretty okay, honestly.
See, they both failed that at the answer.
like-
Yes.
Because it's
But yes, I would say I agree with Steve. It is entirely on the parent to monitor what the child is viewing and what they're doing. Because if you don't want them to do something, you have to actively stop them from doing it.
Yeah.
So if you say I don't want you to view shows that show the display of drugs, I have to be actively involved in making sure that the shows don't do that. So like if I had that in my mind and I see them watching Gumball and they're making innuendo jokes about beer and like
other drugs.
yeah, like the time NIS got drunk off of milk
Yeah.
or whatever she was drinking in that episode when she was doing New York cop style. I had to make the decision whether that's okay or not for my child to watch.
But in order to do that, you'd have to know.
And that's what I'm saying.
You have to be a parent.
Yeah, I had to be actively involved in what they're watching.
Well, okay, so let's bring it back to video games for a second, because you mentioned like references and things to drugs, right?
Mhm.
So we've all played like a game like Majora's Mask, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
I've never
is that
played that
rated
game.
E10 or teen?
I think that's teen.
Teen. Nigga,
Okay.
people die.
right, right.
What?
DED
But it was
dead.
also the 90s, so it might
Yeah,
have
it's
been
every. Yeah,
rated
we'll see.
lower.
I'm pretty sure it's teen.
DED
In the
dead.
90s, you could do anything. Who cares?
I mean, I'll double check right
But
now.
yeah,
Make a point. I'll
you
double
talking
check,
about
make a
the
point.
long milk?
yeah, because there's a lot of references to stuff like that in that game.
Oh yeah, and then Anju, not Anju.
But like, there's
What's-
no.
remind me
It's
of
Cathay.
Premia.
yeah, she kind of hits on like.
But
in,
yeah,
the
like there's a
weirdest way.
whole lot of
Huh?
examples.
Uh,
And, pause for technical issue.
no, keep talking.
Nah, well, like there's a whole lot of things that happen in like famously kid-friendly Nintendo games that like either are innuendo directly or you could like read it that way.
And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. What I was saying, like creators sneaking in content that's not supposed to be there by making it innuendo or Easter eggs or really hard to find things that they know that most kids won't find, but like older viewers will take the time to like
Or notice, yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of what I was talking about, sneaking things past, and that's why I used the example of Gumball with the innuendo, because the show I think is rated PG.
It's rated TVY 7.
Revelation.
E10, right?
It's rated E.
What? Wow.
Well, that
Like you said, it's different time. It's different time.
well, yeah,
It's different time.
the ESRB was very young at that
They
point.
didn't know.
Nah,
Because
they were like 10 years
they
old at
didn't
that
know.
point. Because didn't they come at like late 80s, early 90s?
They started with Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's like 90.
Is that like 93?
That was Super Nintendo, so it was like 93, I think. 94.
Yeah, they started. The ESRB came into play because of Mortal Kombat and its grotesque use of violence. That wasn't even that grotesque.
And Night Trap.
But yeah, that's why I was saying earlier about those like subtle slide-ins. Like, yes, at that point that's on the creator because they're trying to sneak stuff past the rating. But at the same time, like, how bad is it actually? Because like for them to say like, oh, this is synonymous with alcohol, but we're not saying it. We're just gonna say that only adults can drink it. Is it really that bad? Versus saying like, oh, this is actual alcohol. You can't drink it because you're not old enough.
Because that makes it worse than when you actually get some.
Yeah.
It's really good, too.
Now, since
But anyway.
we did move back on the video games, what I wanted to ask is, first of all, well, okay, so I want to talk about this. So, something that happened in the news recently, like it's already happening in other countries, but Congress is investigating loot boxes as if, like, to see if they qualify as a form of gambling. Would that be something that you think is a creator's responsibility to, like, protect audiences from by warning what it is? Like, for example, in, I forget which country it was, but it's somewhere in Europe, they made a law saying that creators have to say what the prizes are if you buy a loot box in a video game, or they can't have them in the game.
Okay.
So, like, that's kind of a form of, like, what am I trying to say? That's kind of a form of, like, protecting the audience from something, like, content-wise. Because if you're buying a loot box, like, that is a part of the game, right?
Yeah, technically, I suppose, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so, like,
I'm with you.
should a creator be responsible for whether or not they can, like, buy that? Like, for example, in Fortnite, right?
Well, it's content in the game, so that's the creator putting in the game. So, yeah, that's the creator's fault.
I mean, yeah, it's the creator's fault, but I'm saying, like, for Fortnite, for example, like, you have to pay real money to get V-Bucks, right?
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of stories of kids just buying that, not knowing what it is, right?
What, V-Bucks or the box?
Like, that it costs real money, and that it's just kind of a random...
Like, look, if your kid doesn't know how money works, that's on you.
But is that on parents, or is that on creators to not put it there?
So is it...
Because Congress, like, a lot of other countries, they're legally saying that it is the creator's job not to include it because it's gambling, and kids don't know what it is. So they're literally, like, taking the responsibility away from parents and saying that it's the creator's job.
Well,
I guess.
maybe we save that for another time
It's weak.
so that we can start to answer some of the questions on the stream.
There aren't any. That's why I kept going. There's only a couple.
Dang,
I shouldn't say there aren't any. I should say
God
there's only
dang,
one.
there's like
Hit me. What? Go.
we're saving it for the end.
Okay.
There's a couple.
I'm on YouTube. What other questions?
Whatever.
There weren't that many.
So hateful.
So our number one super fan has been very active in the comments.
Well, number one super fan is Sammy.
So Aris Cosplay said that advisory and warnings are two different things. He said ESRB is like movie ratings. So
well, they're different because they're done by two different boards.
well,
so.
we know that, but I'm mostly focused on the advisory and warning part to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
even though they mean the same thing, but okay, they mean the same thing.
Sort of.
One is more broad. It's a square and a rectangle. That's all.
but do all these squares make a circle?
Eventually,
They're similar, yeah.
that's what I mean. So
He also noted that E10 Plus may not have firearms or blood or language.
I mean,
I
it may
feel
not
like
have those, but apparently in E games you can kill people with an apocalypse.
yeah, I was gonna say that game
That's
is
fine.
creepy as hell. But again, it was the '90s. Well, I would say that makes sense. I feel like there's probably just a tipping point between E and E10, where it's like you know it when you see it kind of thing.
He also made an interesting point about video games. I know he said Pokemon in this particular reference, but he noted that a lot of things are translated, and so the content is changed to the appropriate language. So like when Pokemon is translated, like some of the jokes and references are changed so that American audiences will understand them.
The moves get different names too.
Wait, are you talking about Jelly Donuts?
Yes.
Well, that's different because that's the production company.
But like a lot of stuff is translated to be changed so that we understand the reference, or like it's a reference that our culture will understand versus, you know, if it stayed a Japanese cultural reference, we'd be like, what?
I feel like they're doing less of that nowadays. Fun fact, by the way, did you know in Japanese the move Flame Charge is called Nitro Boost? Anyway, moving on.
I don't know if that's very fun.
But yeah, I think it's just
I see what you did there.
like more so. I think they're not doing that because the overt references to Japanese culture and things, at least in Pokemon, they're there more often now than they used to be.
But I mean, I wouldn't say they're not doing it as much, but for certain games, they might be cutting back on it, because I know for some games, the references are still changed heavily.
I wouldn't know unless you showed me.
I'm trying to think of
Because it's gonna be those like the games that are like these are Japanese made games, right? But for the most part, they don't bother changing.
Like even Smash Brothers, they changed a lot of content in Smash Brothers when it comes over to America, Nintendo of America.
like which con? That's what I'm saying.
Like voices are changed, names are changed. Like Isabel's name in European is not Isabel. It's something different. I can't remember what it was.
Robin's name is Reflet. Corn's is Kamui.
Yeah, like
I
things
get
like
it.
that. Things like that changed. Voices are
Gekko.
changed. Certain lines are changed. Like in Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Goku in the non-American version,
Like curse less too.
Goku says to Gohan when he like beats him in battle, like, "I'm proud of you for the first time, son," or something to the effect.
No, I get it.
Something to the effect of that. And then in the American release, they're like, "Yeah, a lot of people will be mad at that because it sounds like that's the only time Goku's been proud of Gohan. So we're gonna take that line and change it to I'm proud of you, son," instead of I'm finally proud of you. Because like it was like, you know, the American culture has changed the way we see Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. So like they know that Goku's like a neglectful father.
I don't think that's why.
I'm not saying that's why, but like they know like some of the running jokes. So in another translation, they changed Piccolo to be more of the father figure to Gohan in Dragon Ball Fighter Z for the American release versus Goku. So that's why instead of saying I'm finally proud of you, he said I'm proud of you, son. And then Piccolo follows up by saying something that's more father-like because American audiences see Piccolo more as Gohan's father. It's like a running joke.
I get it, but I don't think that's. It's more of a cultural thing because as far as Japan's culture is concerned,
Having someone else having pride in you.
having someone else having pride in you is something you earn.
If I grew up,
So,
and
like,
didn't do anything,
If I grew up and didn't do anything, and I was just average or
if
whatever.
no one said they were proud of me, I wouldn't.
If no one said they were proud of me, I wouldn't be like,
it wouldn't be shocking.
what?
Like, it's
It wouldn't
not
be. It wouldn't be
shocking
shocking.
to me.
Like it's not shocking to someone say I'm finally proud of you if you're doing something that's good, like that's new to them. Like it's not shocking because you've earned that person's pride in you. It's different. In America, it's more.
It's given.
It's supposed to be given.
It's given.
And I understand
Thank you.
that.
Yes.
Well, no, and I understand that.
I think. Yeah, but I'm saying you attributed a lot to it that I don't think is there.
But no, I'm not talking about the American culture. I'm talking about the Dragon Ball Z culture in America for that change.
But I think what Steve's trying to say is that that's not a content change. That's a culture thing.
Translation change.
Yeah,
That's a translation change based on the culture, though. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, the reason the translation is different isn't because of anything that like isn't our viewpoint of Dragon Ball Z. It's literally a difference in our culture between Japan and America. That one culture, America, we view the phrase "I'm finally proud of you" as this person has never been proud of you ever before until right now, and that's bad. In Japan, it's this person has been proud of you, but you've earned their pride in you, and that's a good thing.
No, and all right. What I'm saying is I agree with you on that one.
Okay.
But I'm saying in this particular case, they also noted that because of the Dragon Ball Z culture in America, they decided to change that line and Piccolo's line to match the culture that we understand as the running joke of Goku being the neglectful father and Piccolo being the actual father figure.
You're agreeing with me, but then you disagree with me with the next sentence.
That's not
That's
a
fine.
disagreement.
You literally said, "I agree that you're correct, but the reason they changed this line is not what you just said." That's what you said to me just now.
No, I'm saying I agree with you on the understanding of the finally part, like the inclusion of finally and taking it out part. I'm agreeing with that part
Okay.
because they said yes, like that wouldn't sound right to American culture.
Uh-huh.
However, they also said not as a contraction to what you're saying. They also said that they thought it would also be better to include a line from Piccolo to include the Dragon Ball Z culture that they know in America of him being more of Gohan's father figure than Goku. That's all I said. There was no taking away from what you said.
That's not okay. That's fine. That's not unique to America, but okay.
Okay, whatever. Okay, whatever.
Everyone thinks Piccolo's Gohan's dad. It's not just an
Viewers,
American
did you guys enjoy that? Was that nice for you? Did you guys enjoy that? That was nice.
That's fine.
So I
Next
just,
question.
I do just want to ask one other question before we continue here.
Or end.
I was going to read another comment
Oh, go
that I
for it.
found.
We can do that first.
They said there are also drug uses in teen games as well,
Oh yeah.
and it all depends on the amount of context, which is why Call of Duty. I was about to say COD. Cash on delivery.
Yeah.
is a
We're talking about fish now, actually.
is a teen game because of its military theme.
Advance Wars. Rated M for mature. Gotcha.
And they also said leave porn out of this.
Too late. This is literally the first thing we talked about.
And now they're fighting over who's the number one super fan.
Are we going to do a Vulcan?
Oh,
wait.
I didn't
Are
know
we going
Sammy
to do a
was in the
Vulcan
chat.
fight to the death?
Huh?
Can we do a Vulcan fight to the death? Oh, what was that on Zoidberg's planet?
Oh, him and Fry? Was it Fry? Yeah, whatever. It was him and the
Ava's
other guy.
cosplay says Steve Mannix says you're wrong, and that it is a running joke. He is a bad father in any translation. It's just worse in Russian.
That makes sense.
I mean, it'll probably also be worse in the African American community because he's never there.
He's dead though.
Well, he's dead, not in jail. So.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's never been in jail.
I mean, he could also use the excuse that he's in school.
Wait, who is? Goku or Gohan?
Sorry, but we have to wait till next the next arc of Dragon Ball Super. Have you been following?
I'm aware that it exists.
I'm aware that it exists, and Boo might be involved.
And people might end up in jail for a little bit.
Is Mr. Satan going to prison?
No, Mrs. Satan's
Well,
going
they
to
want to kill
Hiffle.
him.
Mrs. Satan's going to Hiffle. Come on, man.
No way.
So
He's an infinite winner. Not
let
an
me.
infinite loser.
I got one more question for you guys before we go ahead and end for today. So we've been talking a lot about actual media, and like video games and movies and TV and everything. But since we're talking about responsibility, especially with parents, I just want to ask you guys, how do you feel that this conversation kind of fits with celebrities or like role models or anything like that? Like, do you think that, since they are being paid it's so much attention to by not only just kids but like everyone, that they have a responsibility to present themselves in a certain way, knowing that people are watching.
Okay, so I want to respond to you with a question in kind. So when you're out in public, do you have a duty to operate yourself in a certain light, knowing that there are kids around and other people watching you?
I have a duty to operate myself in a safe and legal manner, and it's not threatening of anyone else.
So to me, I would say that rule applies to celebrities as well. They're not much different unless they hold some sort of power over us, which most celebrities don't. Unless you're like a politician or something.
I hold the power of influence.
Not.
Can I say something about that though? Unless they're going out there saying, "Hey, we need to like slaughter all the." And shoot. Well, I was going to say insert
juice. You're good. Juice.
So unless they're going out.
I mean, we could go to the indecent proposal. Eat all the babies and the old people.
Are you saying unless they're going out there being Mel Gibson?
Yeah, basically. Unless they're going out there and be like, we need to just slaughter all these insert racial
I
groups.
won't say it this time.
They don't really have a responsibility because sometimes they just voice their opinion and people come and they're just like, Justin Bieber's a fucking asshole. Let's go up to his house and knock and who knows what.
Well, and I will also say this, like, in recent light of like the Kevin Hart incident, I feel like there should be he was going to host the Oscars, and then somebody Golden Globes,
an award show that no one cares about,
and somebody dug up like a 10-year-old
tweet from 20 years ago,
like 10 years ago,
where
he said something homophobic. And they're holding it against him, so he decided to step down because of some of the backlash. Now, what I'm saying towards that is, there should be a time limit because people can grow in definitely a 10-year span where their views can change.
Not Kevin Hart; he's just as short as he was back then.
But like if it was like maybe 2 years ago, like maybe hold him accountable for that joke and say like, hey, that wasn't cool. But like you can't just say like you're a horrible person for saying that, but he's also a comedian too. Like you gotta look at the occupation that they're in as well.
Because then we'd all be horrible people forever.
Because that was kind of like James Gunn, and it really seems from what the cast is saying, he's not really that person he used to be.
Yeah, well, even if you looked at the tweets that they showed, they're funny. They're actually funny, and they're clearly jokes.
But then you look at other comedians like Sarah Silverman, who's I do like her. I do like her as a comedian and a person. Mm-hmm. But you look at some of the work she's done and some of the things she's said in the past. No one's holding that against her. Amy Schumer the same way. Even somebody like Dave Chappelle has said some really messed up stuff.
But I think that's probably also part of their job too.
That's what I'm saying.
The job of a comedian is to push the line. Sometimes they
fail.
Sometimes they go so far past the line. You're just like, whoa.
Or sometimes like the joke is like kind of so far advanced that we get it later, and it's like, oh, now it's funny.
Right.
But like even some other celebrities, like where they have dug up things in the past for them, and it's like that was 15 years ago, or like that was like 10 years ago, like that needs to be let go.
Unless it's like crime.
Unless it was like something bad, like yo, I killed somebody, don't tell nobody. But like if it was like a year or two ago, and that person probably still holds those same viewpoints, yes, we can hold them accountable. But at the same time, they don't have a power influence over us where they can like go do this, and everybody in the world is like, oh, because this celebrity said to do this, we have to do this. Like I think Oprah is probably the only person that could probably do that right now.
Here's a new car.
So a couple things real quick in order. I think Kevin Hart is kind of getting the brunt of this right now because right before people found these tweets, people were also mad at him for his 1-year-old son's Indians versus Cowboys birthday party thing. Not necessarily like because people get offended at everything.
I don't know.
Nah, but like people get offended at everything.
How you gonna say nah to your own boy?
No, what? It's like no, what?
No,
I disagree with me
because I think it's a weird reason for people to get offended. But people got offended because he posted pictures of his family celebrating his son's 1-year-old birthday. He was dressed as like an Indian or a Native American, and they had a Cowboys and Native American themed party. People were like, "That's insensitive and racist."
To all the Native Americans at the party?
And then he,
Yep, I bet they were super mad.
and then he tried to apologize, but he did that weird, annoying old man apology where he doubled down on his stance and said that like, well, there are probably white people playing, you know, slave masters and slaves.
Oh no, that's not doubling down. That's deflecting, and he did it wrong.
Yeah, it was really bad. And then on top, and then you know, a couple days later, people found these tweets, and then he tried to apologize for that.
So
too.
on top of being racist sensitive, he's homophobic too.
Right.
Wow.
And then he tried to apologize for those tweets too, and his apology again, he like tried to double down and like take blame, but also say that everyone did it. And that he's only doing it because he's old and he did it as a kid.
All right, so we're like running short on time here. So, any final closing statements?
Just with that, since you don't think that celebrities have a responsibility, how would you, like, none of us have kids here, but as a parent, like, how would you try to tell your kid, like, hey, we don't need to do everything that this celebrity says?
Don't be an asshole.
That seems pretty effective.
Is it?
No, but we're pressed for time, so I can't explain.
So please, you should come to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We're at Wits End.
Yeah.
Also subscribe to mine, Major Phoenix, FENIX.
Hang on.
You can
Hang on. Well, plug my what?
Shameless plug is shameless.
Yeah, plug my 6-year-old YouTube channel where we did what Yu-Gi-Oh deck profiles.
Just make sure
That's
when you
real
go to
happening.
at what's in -AWE.
And then, do we have a Twitter?
Not yet, but
Not yet.
but
One
we
day.
are
on Twitter.
we're
One
working on
day
that.
we will.
We're debating if we want to
we also
jump
have
into
a
that
Facebook
cesspool.
page. And we
you
also
can-
have a Facebook page at what's in
Yep.
as
And
well.
if you come to my Twitter, I can update you on some things. It's my weeping guitar, all one name or word. And
We'll see y'all next time. We'll see y'all next time when we discuss more topics and hopefully not child pornography because that was kind of awkward.
We don't like
Yeah,
we don't like child pornography.
Discuss it.
Yeah, let's go for something a little. Maybe we'll talk about how awful the Game Awards.